Hey guys, wanted to take the chance to talk to you a little bit about some of the final assignments. Just to, go ahead and finish up the actual workload of the course so that we can, again, start to focus more on actually having phone conferences and going over drafts, doing submissions, getting as much in there as we can for these assignments so that you get a better idea where you are overall for the course. First thing I want to talk to you guys about is the final genre 4. I don't know if any of you guys have started on that yet. If not, then I got some good news. The final genre is what I call a revision narrative. The revision narrative is basically your chance to step back and reflect on your writing process. How has it changed? What was your writing process like when you started the course? What is it now? You can also talk about what are some specific revisions that you've made so far? What revisions do you plan to make? Do you have comma issues? Do you still struggle with expansion? Are you not certain about audience? Are you worried about genre specifically? All of those things are fair game. And as you start getting your revisions, as you start getting feedback from me, you can also take the revision narrative to start reflecting on those things and saying, what you've learned so far. So basically, all you're doing is reflecting on what you've learned from the course. There's another thing that you can do with the revision narrative. You can actually start to evaluate the course. You can tell me what worked for you, what didn't work for you. What did you like about the delivery? Was there things that didn't quite mesh with your style? I really closely analyze these in the online classes because the way the online classes are delivered is very, very important to me. I want these online classes to be as close to face as we can, at least in quality and attention. I want you to feel like I'm actually able to pay attention to you. So if you've had trouble getting in touch with me, if you've been frustrated about assignments, now's your time to just kind of step back and tell me, what do I need to do differently? How can this course be improved? The revision narrative is a pretty easy genre to get points for. It's only 2 pages. I also don't really grade it very harshly. It's a reflection. It's very informal. So this is your chance to just kind of sit back and relax and, be honest with me about how the class is going forward. On that note, let me give you guys a few pointers on research. You've been working on 4 genres. You've been experimenting with research a little bit. Now we're going to step back and start actually looking at a research paper. But the concept of genre still applies. I mean, you're doing a research paper, but if you have learned nothing from this class so far, know this. The old style research format is pretty much dead. There's no way you're going to get any use of that in the workplace. So it's vitally important as we move forward for this research paper to still have some type of form, some type of function. It needs to have an audience. It needs to have some type of identity rather than just you talking about a bunch of information. On that note, you can use a lot of the same tactics that you've used in your genres. You can explore different modes of discourse. You can look at different argumentative appeals. The only mode of discourse that's absolutely required for the research paper is argument. No matter what you're doing, you must argue some type of point in some way. We can let that be a little bit of organic, but that's going to be the direction I push you in when you start submitting drafts of the research paper. What is the argument? What are you trying to say? Now, as far as the integration of research itself is concerned, this can get a little bit dicey. I'm going to show you guys what to do with formal end citations when you put together a bibliography. Believe it or not, I don't want you to worry about that too much yet. What I'd much rather you do is focus on finding some good resources, finding some good sources of information. When I say that, I may have made this point in an earlier video. We have a difference between primary resources and secondary resources. That if you know someone who's had primary experience with what you're talking about, you can interview them, you can talk to them, and include them as a source. You can conduct an interview with a person and cite yourself as the interviewer. You can find magazine articles to inform your opinion. You can cite documentaries on Netflix or YouTube. I am going to ask you to make use of Galileo, which I really need to work on getting a better video tutorial for that. That's what we have the scholarly requirement. So, I mean, you are going to have to at least do that once. But as far as the rest of the research goes with the research paper, it can be very, very ad hoc. As long as you're making reference to the sources of information in your writing, you're doing pretty good. You can mention these things, pretty much as you go along, according to the New York Times, according to my best friend Duber. All of these things these are just natural ways to include sources. You want to talk about your sources. You want to actually include them in the discussion and in the material of your writing. Therefore, let's do a quick exercise and make this a little bit simple. What I want you to do is we're going to utilize the general forum. It's been a long time since I've given you a real assignment with the general forum. What I want you to do this week, I want you to go out and look for a source of information. Now, it doesn't have to explicitly deal with what it is you plan to do your research paper on, but kind of start thinking in that capacity, because that's going to be the most useful way of doing this. It can be anything. It can be any of the things I just listed. But I want you to find a source of information, and I want you to write me a good solid paragraph just about that source of information. Just tell me what it is. Where does it come from? What does it say? How could you use it? All of those things. And I want you to share that paragraph in the general forum. Now, what I'm going to do, and this is kind of your participation grade for the week, what I'm going to do is later this week, I'm going to go into the general forum and I'm going to look at them. And I might make a few suggestions as I go and evaluate these. But for the most part, when you do this, you're going to have a paragraph ready to go right into the research paper, basically just explaining your source and exploring its value. That is something that you can directly do to produce a nice sizable chunk of the research paper. So that's your assignment this week. I'll follow it up with a research paper example and some more guides on citations and stuff. So look alive, keep working, you guys rock.